Hi, it's Dr. Doug Curtis.
And Lucy Curtis from Dyslexic and Unstoppable. Our mission is to help dyslexics rediscover their inner power.
That's right. We're the authors of Dyslexic and Unstoppable, How Dyslexia Helps Us Create the Life of Our Dreams and How You Can Do It Too. And we spend a lot of time in our videos discussing techniques and strategies that work. A lot of stuff is the stuff that we've developed or adapted over the years. But this video, we want to take a different approach and talk about some techniques that may not work. In particular with learning spelling. You know, spelling is a big part of early elementary school. And there are some techniques that, you know, seem natural to the non-dyslexic person, the person who's more left-brained, but just don't work. So maybe you can start with from our experience.
Sure. Like for our daughter, she's not dyslexic. I don't even spend any time with her doing spelling words ever, like ever. And she just looks at the word or writes it down and voila, she's done. I mean, there's no issue with that. And it's in black and white, and there's no preparation to do, there's no technique to do. But when it came to our son, who's dyslexic, he struggled with, especially like, you know, if it's written on a piece of paper, and a white piece of paper, and then you have lists of words in black, it's like all mixing together and makes no sense and doesn't stick out.
Yeah. So actually, that actually brings up two ways that don't work. One is all the words on one page, right? So the more left-brain person probably doesn't care too much about that. But the person who learns in a more right-brain way or a dyslexic way, having them all one right after another kind of is overwhelming, right? And then the second thing that doesn't work that you also alluded to is the black and white, right? Just strictly black and white, it doesn't stimulate very much of the brain, and it also it doesn't. You can't engage the brain. You can't feel like you've got you can pull any meaning or any pattern or anything out of it because it's just black and white. Yeah, exactly. So one of the other things is repetition, right? A lot of times repetition over and over and over again.
Well, if we go with an example, is when our son would have spelling words, and just, you know, if my husband would work with him with the spelling words, and he learns, you know, write it down 10 times and repeat it 10 times, and I'd be like, it's not going to work, it's not working, and it's not how he's going to learn it. And it's hard for a left brain person to understand that. And we've had people say, you know, like, you know, we live in a very professional community with doctors and lawyers and things like that are very left brain, and you know, they've learned it this way with the rote memorization, and their kid all of a sudden is like, I'm not learning like that. So the parents have to adapt also. But because I'm dyslexic, I see this world of it, and I'm like, okay, don't worry, this is what you're going to do from now on. So you have to put yourself in their shoes and see why is it like that. Because if you just put a word like, I don't know, like a sight word, and it doesn't mean anything. Or the best example I can give you is dinner and diner, right? For me, dinner, diner doesn't, I will never, I know if I'm speaking it, I'm going to say I want to go to the diner and come over, it's time for dinner. I know that, but to write it, if there are two N's, one N, I can never remember. He tells me the rule 50 million times, and I said, don't bother with it. I won't remember. It doesn't matter. It doesn't stick in, and it's not going to change my life, right? So what we had to do is learn in pictures.
Right, exactly. Actually, you brought up something else that's interesting, is because I'm left brain, I can remember early on when Felix Alexander was having some difficulties, I can remember getting frustrated. And as a parent, then your thought is, because your child starts to squirm a bit and get distracted and want to do other things, the thought is, you know, to, for lack of a better word, put pressure on them to, no, let's knuckle down and let's really study and let's, stop moving and work. And that's another thing that doesn't work with dyslexics. It really shuts them down, right? It shuts down their sensitivity, and then they don't want to learn at all. So. Well,
then it brings out also that you think they're not paying attention because they start wiggling their chair, they start being frustrated. You're like, okay, is there ADHD? Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And all these things come up, and you're like, okay, what is going on? And then I think of your parents when they would babysit. Your mom was a the elementary school teacher, and for her, rote memorization is the way to learn. And I'm like, it's not.
Right.
He's not going to learn it like that. And it was really difficult for them to transition to doing it a different method. So you really have to say, okay, who needs to learn these words, me or my child? So you need to learn the new ways of teaching them so they can actually get to learning.
Exactly.
And remove that frustration, because even if you repeat it 5 million times, if it doesn't work, it's not going to work, and it often doesn't work, right?
Well, and that's the beautiful thing, is once you learn the correct way of teaching them, the pressure goes away because it's much easier. It flows much easier and everything like that.